Yo, what is up, guys? Joker bringing you another video for the 3.25 Settlers of Kalguur League, going over my opinions and impressions of the league mechanic so far. I feel like this is going to be a rather unpopular opinion because I just know there's going to be people like, oh, well, it's only a week in. So I want to start the video by preferencing that I think that this is a good league. I really like the auction house. I really like the melee changes. The league mechanic itself right now is a good concept, but I don't think it's anywhere where it needs to be in terms of power. And this is speaking from the position of a person who has a maxed out town with almost half T10 workers. I have 37 T10 workers. I've used about 6 to 7 million gold re-rolling for T10 workers. They're extremely rare. I get a T10 worker to show up every like 250k gold. And on top of that, um, some of the things just don't seem balanced that well. And those are going to be a couple of the things that I mentioned slash explain, right? So real quick, showing that I have everything maxed out, right? Level 11, level 11, level 11, level 11, level 11. And then if we go over here, we also have our rune smithing maxed out, and we have our recombinator maxed out. So we have everything at maxed rank. If we go through our employees real quick, in mining, I am missing 4 level 10s, I believe, or is it 5? I'm missing 5 level 10s. In mapping, technically, I'm missing 11 because that one's full of T10s, but this one only has one T10, and then these other two are full of T9 mappers, right? In disenchanting, I have one T10, so I need 5 there. In shipping, I have 7. Yeah, in shipping, I have 7 T10s. And in smithing is the closest I am to maxed out. And I'm only missing one guy. And I've found some things. Oh, I guess I can show farming too. Farming is by far where I'm lacking the most. I have 4 T10s, but all the other plots are T9. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the mechanic itself. The in-game mechanics for Settlers of Kalguur are going to be the mapping system and the selling system, right? That's where your gold sink is going to be end game. Don't mess with recombination. It's hot trash. They need to buff that in general for it to even be worth using. Like, just don't. But selling and mapping are going to be your two end game systems. On a surface level, they are really good. If I had to rank them, I would say mapping is significantly better than selling as of right now. Because with the mapping, I may be biased. My people have brought me back Arakiatas, um, and it was like on day 2, so it really jumped me forward. But I have also tested them in T17 maps. Well, these guys can run T17 maps with no failure, and then the rest can really only run T16. But yeah, so these on average usually get me about a divine every 2 hours or so. If I have all 3 of these up and running, I will get at least one divine every 2 hours. And for passive income, that's really good. On the flip side, if we talk about selling, I know a lot of people are still trying to find a way to min max this, but it's just not in the right spot. And it's not the rewards you get from selling that are in a bad spot. Like my max reward looks like this, right? I have gotten 3 divines from a shipment, but there is a huge caveat to that. Um, this was a 7 million value shipment to Kalguur. So it took 4 hours for them to bring me back 3 divines. On top of it, to get that 7 million value worth of shipment, it took me probably 2 to 3 days to actually build up the resources. And this is with T10 and T9 workers. There's not much more that can be min maxed about this. You just receive resources way too fucking slowly for the amount that are required for the shipments. If we go ahead, I'm not selling that right now, I'm making a video. Um, if we go ahead and take a look, my T10 farm, right? They only produce about 2K ore gourd an hour. And that's with them being boosted by 25% for each additional each additional crop because I'm growing all 5 different crops. And then it's an additional 10%. I'm sorry, an additional 20 because of the 2 adjacent plots. I'm pretty sure this one doesn't count as adjacent. It might. If it does, then it would be 30%, right? So that's 55% increased, and it's on top of full T10 workers, and I'm only getting 2K ore gourd an hour. So if we use that number and we come down here and we take a look at the shipment values that this needs, that's 45K ore gourd to make this shipment really even worth it. So that would be what? 45K divided by 2, like 20 hours for them to grow. The counter argument would be, oh, you can set everything to ore gourd and just have it in a fraction of the time. I hate this fucking crash too. It's going to kick me out of the game. Um, you can set everything to Orgord and have a much faster time. Well, no, because you have to remember I'm losing 25% uh, because I'm only growing Orgord at that point. So, yes, it does go up. Like, I can go ahead and swap everything over to Orgord real quick to show you how much I would actually get if I just changed everything to Orgord for the example. Okay, so what do we got? We got 1.7, 1.4, so about 3.2, 4.6, 6, 7.5, pretty much 9K Orgord an hour, right? And that's with T10 and T9 workers. So if we go ahead and take a look, once again, it's 45K. And I'm maxing out at about 9K. If I had all T10s, it would be slightly higher, but it wouldn't be higher than 10, 11K. So it would still be 4.5 hours that I had to wait to grow this shipment, on top of the fact that it's a 2 hour trip. So it would be 6 hours that I had to wait, on top of the fact that I also would have to send 86K Crimson Iron, which would be divided by 5, 17.2K Crimson Iron. You only get 1K ore a map. And that's not even guaranteeing that you're going to get Crimson Iron. Once you have a maxed out mine, it does hurt you a little bit here because ore found in areas is more likely to be rarer. So it's more likely to be the higher quality ores. So you're getting less of the base material on top of that. And on top of having to run 17 plus maps, let's be generous and say it's just 17 maps, right? If you're doing 4 or 5 minutes a map, that's an additional hour. We're already at like 7 hours. This shipment would probably clock in at somewhere around like 3 or 4 mil once I juiced it with the juice. So it would bring me back probably a divine or two, right? Probably not a whole lot more than that. And for 8 hours and all of those resources, I don't think it's worth it, dude. They really need to buff the rate that you gather resources for this to be viable in game. The amount of bars that I have right now is based on literal hundreds of maps and dozens of hours of playtime. Because recently I haven't even been running my ships. I've just been running my mappers and letting my resources build up so I could do the shipments, and it's just taking so long, and you only get like minuscule rewards in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, you do get some cool things sometimes, like if you're progressing through the campaign or if you're trying to gear up your character, then yes, you sometimes do get decent gear. Majority of the time, the gear you get, you're just going to be throwing it into ROG anyways. But if you're trying to progress, it can sometimes give you decent gear. I'm not going to lie at all. It is good for that. This chest plate came from a shipment. These boots came from a shipment. So you can get decent gear, but this isn't end game gear. This is mid game gear from an end game feature. This is like stuff you would get, like I said, on a mid tier character. It's pretty much T2s, T4s, T3s. Like, this is not what an end game character would be wearing. So, yes, it's good for progression and potentially solo self found, but it's not good for an end game, late game mechanic. I have yet to find any meaningful way to send out these ships to feel like my resources aren't just being wasted, besides waiting like 10 hours to get all the materials that I need and send them. So, once again, yes, I think it is a good league. I like a lot of things about the league, but it needs significant buffs. And I'm not saying this for me because at any point, I could go play. I have a lot of other games. I have old school RuneScape that I have to do stuff in. I have First Descendant. I have Once Human. By time that it's a month into the league, there'll probably be another Last Epoch League or another Torchlight League or another. So I have stuff to do. I don't really want them to buff it for me because I'm already done. I kind of want them to buff it for everybody else because right now, 6 to 7 million gold, the average player who's getting 8 to 10K gold a map, they're never going to get to these points. So they really need to rework some of this. I think the rewards are fine, once again, if they leave it how it is and just 5 times the amount of resources you can gather with T10 workers. And the reason why I say T10 workers is because it still does give you like that progression grind where you do still have to get T10 workers to get to like that end game state. But it's just you it's not rewarding enough for the amount of time. You get like a divine every 12 hours of resource gathering. So buff resources in maps, buff resources on the farm, and we're good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's just my thoughts on the league's mechanics so far. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. I know this one was a little bit more of a rant, but I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care.